everyone, and welcome to the GameMaker update. I'm Kinga from the GameMaker team, and today we're in the Opera Wrocław office. With me are Russell and Gavin. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thanks. How are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. I'm very happy to be here with you guys and to talk to you. After all, last year was huge for GameMaker.
Certainly was. There was lots of changes, one of which I'm now head of GameMaker in charge of everything, not just technical side.
Yep, and I'm Senior Project Manager working with Russell to set the direction of GameMaker.
Let's have a look at what else changed last year.
In 2021, we added a library of simple to use, useful industry standard curves, part of our ongoing commitment to improve sequence support. 9 slices was added, which is really the start of us getting going on a UI system. And we are really looking to improve accessibility in different regions, and we are continually adding more language support. We've got a grander vision for GameMaker workflow, and inspectors are really the backbone of this. To date, we're almost complete with inspectors for all the major asset types, and we're looking to enable them by default in the near future. As part of improving workflow, we listened to our users and those who had lots of audio heavy stuff. We're looking to improve the compilation speed across the board, really. In the future, we are looking to support consoles as they come out. We're really pleased to work with Sony and Microsoft in delivering launch titles. We're also looking to expand GameMaker's platforms which it runs on, and we found our business case for Linux and Ubuntu in education, where we are supporting Chromebooks there. In September last year, we moved to monthly releases. This is really in line with Opera's internal policies, and it's really going to help us going forward. We've got a larger team that allows us to do this. And we move towards subscriptions because this is the reality of gaming platforms that are continually changing and requiring constant maintenance. We introduced the Opera GX target, which is WebAssembly. It's part of the future, and we're looking to employ that more. We're targeting Opera GX just now, as not all web platforms are equal, and we're in control of this one. We are looking to bring WebAssembly across all browsers. We're streamlining project creation process in 236 in October. We made it easy to use preset filters, and we're going to be adding effects as well, and we're continually adding more options. It's there. Spine is used by many of our users, and we've been trying to upgrade to Spine 4 for quite some time. We managed to get that in on November this year. Also, Microsoft Game Core GTK support is really key to us going forward. It's part of the backbone on Xbox Series X, and we're moving Xbox One to that as well. This allows users to create games on Game Pass for Microsoft. And ongoing improvements to GML. We're adding new operators, new language features continually, and we're committed to that going forward.
In December, we launched our monthly asset bundles. They are a collection of game assets, sounds, sprites, and other things as well. We're giving those to our subscribers for free, and they can use them in their games. No royalty fees, no attribution, nothing. Just use them as they want, where they want. Committed to sort of updating all of our extensions, providing a lot more than we previously have done. Any of the big integrations that people use all the time, we want to provide our own extensions for, so we know that they are covering everything that our users need. You'll see we've got all the big ones there, and we're also looking to support a whole load more extensions. Pretty much anything we can get, we want to support. So if you've got any integrations that we don't have anything for yet, let us know and we'll look at adding those in. Last year, we ran a whole load of game jams for GameMaker, more so than we've done in the past, and we've had some amazing entries for these. We're going to be doing more of this throughout 2022 and beyond, so stay tuned for some more information on those. We also launched our GameMaker coaching, where we're taking members of the community and letting them teach you guys how to make games. It's been really popular so far, and we think this is going to provide really good resources for you guys in the future.
And now we have something here from Ben Rivers about how he uses GameMaker.
Ben's great. We worked with him on the educational materials for Little Town, and the games he makes are just fantastic.
Up to you, Ben.
Hi everyone, I'm Benjamin Rivers, the creative director of Bancy Co. We're a Toronto-based game developer, and we've been making games for about a decade now, including Home, Alone With You, and Worse Than Death. All of which were made in GameMaker Studio. In fact, we've created games for PlayStation, PlayStation Vita, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, iOS, PC and Mac throughout that 10-year career. We've also had the good fortune to publish our games physically with our friends at Limited Run Games on PlayStation 4 and Vita, and maybe we'll have a few surprises with them as well in the future. I also taught at a Toronto university for many years, including game development and design classes, and part of that was using GameMaker to get people who were very unfamiliar with programming up to speed quite quickly into making their own projects. In fact, with Yo-Yo Games, I made a project called Little Town, which is an official GameMaker Studio tutorial, and it's meant to take you from absolute zero, where you don't have any idea about how to program or design a game, and walk you through a series of steps to make something that's really small, but will give you all the major steps you need to create a full project. So that's it from me. If you want to check out our games, please go to bancy.co. Of course, you can follow us on social media and wherever else you get your stuff, and we'll see you around. Keep making games.
So looking at our releases this year, as Russell pointed out earlier, we've moved to a monthly release cycle, and here you can see what we've done this year. We've added single layer filters and effects, improved our inspectors, got the beta for Feather, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Also added text to sequences, further improving our UI capabilities, improved video playback across all platforms, and added in support for Steam Deck and some new additional languages.
Let's talk about what will be coming to GameMaker.
I think before we talk about the future, we've got some announcements to make.
As some of you have seen for the most recent update, we made a few changes to GameMaker's name. We're dropping Studio 2, we're going to be simply called GameMaker, returning to our roots. Fundamentally, it's not changing anything to the product as it currently stands, just some text and images. But behind the scenes, it allows us to do so much more. We'll have continual updates of this, our core product, a commitment to the future of easier game development. Along with the name change, we're taking the opportunity to update the product branding. Here are some images that we'll be using, and you'll see some more changes over the course of the year. We've decided to make things easier for all users and remove the distinction between drag and drop and GML. Under the hood, everything is GML in any case. Drag and drop is the old name from GameMaker pre-Studio 2. It keeps getting confused with other trademarks, so we're changing the name to GML Visual. We're going to delay the choice between code or visual until creating your first script or event or moment. I'll allow projects to specify if they're GML code or visual by default. I'm going to facilitate users who want to move between projects frequently. We currently have 13 targets, many with multiple architecture supported, and we're constantly looking at the landscape and looking to best support our users going forward. Microsoft are moving forward with GameCore and GDK support and have deprecated 2 technologies that we rely on for 2 of our targets. So Xbox One XDK is a development kit that launched with the original Xbox One, and Microsoft have decided to migrate that platform to GDK. They'll no longer be accepting any new game submissions that use XDK after April, and many new features are not being released on XDK. So our focus has switched completely to GDK. We're looking to drop XDK version in June 2022. Which would give time for everyone to switch over. Please talk to your Microsoft representative about options for patching games that exist and talk to us about your needs. Public releases of GameMaker will no longer have XDK available from June 2022. It's been a long time coming, but we're announcing that we'll be dropping support for x86 32-bit runner. We've had the 64-bit version for quite some time now, and we actually made 64-bit runner was the default since February this year. Many new libraries from Microsoft, they don't even have any 32-bit components at all. So we made this decision from June this year, we will be only supporting 64-bit. It does have implications for marketplace assets, as many of these older assets will not work, become unusable. So we would encourage you to update any marketplace assets you have. We're looking to remove the x86 architecture on Android as well. Most devices have all moved on to 64-bit, and we see virtually no use at all of the x86 Android runner. Just like you to note that we are keeping the ARMv7 one, which is also 32-bit. It's only the Intel x86 architecture that we are removing. Our final announcement today, something that we've been looking forward to for quite a while now. We are going to be bringing a long-term stable release to GameMaker. Many professional authors have asked for a stable platform on which they can rely on to deliver games for a period of time. A long-term stable version is coming as that release. It's going to be a new stream that will sit beside beta and sit beside monthly. It's going to be on a 2-year life cycle. We're going to bring no new features to this, and only new releases that we'll bring for this are for critical bugs. Not every bug will be fixed, but those deemed to be critical, affecting stability, affecting workflow, preventing features from being used. Submission critical SDK updates. From time to time, platform holder release new versions of SDKs. They must be used for submissions, and we're going to release those. It's going with that. Security issues as well. If we find any security issues or there's an issue with logins, things like that, we will release for that. Here's an example of long-term stable. We'll have our initial release in August this year. We could then follow that up with an update for SDK updates every 6 months. Switch and Sony on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, they release SDK updates that must be used for submissions. We might have feature bug fix, and then we might follow that up with a security fix and a critical bug fix. But at no point here are we releasing any new features. For 2 years, we will commit to not releasing any new features on this so that you can rely and be able to deliver your game on this platform.
Exciting, guys.
Certainly is. We're really enthused about what's coming up in the roadmap, which is on our website, and it'd be great to go through that.
Yeah, we've got a lot planned for this year, so let's go over a few things now. So first up, we have project templates. We added the functionality to the start page for these last year, and the idea behind them is to give users a nice, easy way to get started in their next game project. We're going to provide lots of different types of games, and these will consist of basic gameplay with high quality graphics, sound effects, you name it, it's in there. We want these to be really inspiring for all of our users and just show how easy it can be to get into game development. We've got a few different project templates in the works right now, and hopefully we'll create a massive library for you to choose from. First of these that we're looking to announce today is Windy Woods. This will take over from our old platformer demo and is a very simple sort of action platformer where you are a woodland creature running around trying to get to the end of the level. Now, you might recognise the gameplay here from other types of games, and it just gives you a nice base for a platformer game. There's lots of different gameplay in there, from pickups to enemies, different platforms, etc. And to top it all off, we've got some nice effects using our filters and effects system. So, bundles. We've talked a bit about these earlier. This is where we're providing a high quality bundle of assets, sprites, sounds, etc. every month for our subscribers. We're going to be making a slight change to this very shortly, in that we are going to make the bundles available for everybody. Doesn't matter if you have a subscription or not, you're going to be able to download these every month and use them within your games. What we are going to do for our subscribers though is allow them to access the back catalogue of bundles that we've released for the entire duration of their subscription. So that means it doesn't matter if you come in 6 months or 12 months, you're going to get all the bundles once you subscribe. We think it's a really exciting change, and we're hoping that you guys enjoy this one too. For the future of the workflow in GameMaker, we see inspectors being the real backbone of this. We want to move away from workspaces. Inspectors, where you can edit your assets from anywhere in the project, provide the starting point. We're also looking to add more full screen editors and change the way that you interact with these within GameMaker. Over the next year, we'll be adding a whole load of more functionality to improve the workflow, and we're really excited to see where that goes in the future.
We're upgrading from .NET Framework to .NET Core 6. Microsoft has been working a lot on .NET Core, which is a cross-platform implementation of .NET, which now means that we'll not be using Mono on macOS or Linux. We're going to support this on the IDE and the runtime, and there's many optimizations. We're expecting increased performance across the whole product, improved startup time, better performance in the IDE, faster compiles, and we'll be removing our reliance for subs on Windows, as .NET 6 really removes that requirement completely. So we're really looking forward to .NET 6. We think this is going to change things fundamentally and really improve performance. Feather's the backbone of how we see users interacting with code in the future as you develop your game. It's next generation for writing GML code, allowing users to see what functions or variables can be used, how to use them, how these types change throughout your code, what assets are being used, and really just making it easier to see problems and visualize issues. You can also enforce naming rules, and we're adding refactoring capabilities for refactoring variables, renaming assets across your code and across all the files. It's been a long time coming, but we've added video functions. We have single video at a time. Surface rendering means that it can be used with an effects, with a filter, or you could use it on a 3D model. The original intention is really for full screen video, making it easier to have signature videos at the start of your game, but it can be used in many locations. It also allows us to fulfill requirements on various platforms for being added into store components or is being featured by a store. Come and speak to us if you need this.
Now we have a message from David Galindo.
David. I've known David for a long time. David has really grown up through GameMaker. We did original games on PSP with him, and then he went on to do Cook Serve Delicious. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hi, my name is David Galindo, and I run a company called Vertigo Gaming Inc. We're about 18 people that are working on 3 games at the moment. But you might best know us for the Cook Serve Delicious series, which has been going on for about 10 years now. In fact, this is the 10-year anniversary of the original Cook Serve Delicious, which is a cooking game that was made with GameMaker. In fact, I've used GameMaker since I was in junior high. I downloaded it because I wanted to make a Team Fortress kart racer. Sadly, that did not pan out, but I did end up making a whole bunch of small weirdo free games like The Sandbox of God and Prisms of Light and Oro no Ryomi, which was a fan game of Oro no Ryori, a Japanese PlayStation 1 game. And with that, I wanted to really tackle like a cooking game, like really wanted to make it my own. And I made a game previous to Cook Serve Delicious called The Oil Blue, which was an oil drilling simulator, and it was not enough for me to really go full-time as a game maker. And so Cook Serve Delicious was my last attempt, essentially, to give it my all and try and make this a full-time job. Thankfully, that game took off, and now we're a pretty large company and making all kinds of fun things, none of which have been announced just yet. But here recently we released Cook Serve Delicious 3. That is a game that won the Indiecade Best Audio Award, which we were just completely excited about.
And the award for the most intriguing audio this year goes to Cook Serve Delicious 3. Congrats!
It's been said that we eat first with our eyes, but Cook Serve Delicious 3 serves up a series of aural delights to go with its fantastic visual feasts. The crisp sound design delivers pitch-perfect audio at every possible juncture. Audio cues, soundtrack, and voiceover all delivering the core experience in a lush wall of sound. The Indicate jury commends this accomplishment.
Another game we made recently is called Chef Squad. This is a unique game that has never been done before. It was such an experimental game because we had made 3 Cook Serve Delicious games in the last 10 years. So we wanted to make something completely new and different after Cook Serve Delicious 3. And Chef Squad was that game, which is a cooperative Twitch-only streaming game.
Hi, my name is What If Julia, and this is our new game, Chef Squad. Chef Squad is a free cooperative Twitch game where communities run their own restaurants. The streamer is the head chef, and a number of people in chat are the cooks. Work together to get orders out quickly to win the day. Wiki, let's do some cheese. You guys are getting so fast. Emily, let's do some tomato. And then Fish, let's do some lettuce. Rose, let's do some patties. Riot, if you could deliver that order, please. Let's do some cheese, Aaron. Prodigy, let's do some onion. Download Chef Squad today, and I'll see you in the kitchen. Chef Squad! Chef Squad!
Since we released it on Steam, we've also partnered up with Captain.tv to release it on their Streamer Hub platform. And hopefully we can make more Twitch games in the future, because I feel like that is an area that has not been explored and it is ripe with potential. And it's so fun to be able to do something like that, especially just using GameMaker. The technology and stuff is so easy to incorporate. And I'm excited to use Twitch in any kind of capacity. I think it's something that's really fun and really cool. So yeah, gosh, I love using GameMaker. I love making games, and I hope to make games now and forever, as long as y'all keep buying them. So yeah, a lot of exciting things happening over here. I can't wait for y'all to see all of them this year, and I can't wait for other GameMaker projects too that are just incredibly promising, and I think the platform has such big potential. And we're really entering a interesting phase of game making in terms of all the platforms available, and I'm very excited to see what's next. Thank y'all so much.
Pleased to say that we are currently working on mobile support within the GXC. It's going to be in an upcoming beta. They're going to allow you to test from within the IDE itself. You can, as long as your mobile phone is on the same network as your PC, you'll be able to test your game running on mobile. We'll be supporting both iOS and Android on any browser. You'll be able to connect to the PC and download the game. We're still developing this, and we're currently addressing some issues with memory and performance. We think this is really exciting because it gives everyone a way to develop for mobiles without having to pay any fee to Apple or Google. We're going to support all touch input, gestures. They're all going to be working out of the box on your mobile phone. And this is something that will be coming soon.
One of the most asked for features of GameMaker has been a particle editor. And we are pleased to say that we are working on one for GameMaker. This will be available later in the year and will allow you to access GameMaker's existing particle system within the IDE. You'll be able to create as many particle effects as you want and add them to your games very easily while being able to see them within your room or sequence before running the game.
GameMaker's always been easy to input to code, so whether you're pressing mouse buttons, keyboard or gamepad. But it's not always been easy to separate that input from the logic, because you can actually have a jump action, or you can have a move left action, a move right action. And the action library is really designed to change this and make it much easier to do. An action is the logic used to handle the input, i.e. if you're wanting to move left, you want to move right, you want to jump in a platformer. Actions have methods that can then be called, and those methods can take arguments. These actions can be bound to input in a binding, and you can use those with a flexible expression system. So a mapping is just a collection of bindings, and a binding can be set on an instance. So that means that we can actually set up mapping that maps certain keys, or its kind of mouse movements, or gamepads, its buttons, to those actions. Physical devices like a gamepad can be allocated to an instance specifically, or you can listen to any gamepad, and that allows you to drive these input expressions. We'll be revealing more about this as we add the action library in the second quarter of 2022. We're working on a new way to provide small snippet libraries for GameMaker. We've delivered the first part of this in filters and effects. A filter is really just a shader. It's a small snippet of code that we are injecting into the project. But we're planning on expanding this and using it in the new system going forward. We'll be using them within both in the room editor and the sequence editor, allowing you to add these small snippets in. And users will have a personal library so that you can create your own. And any asset type or combination of asset types can be included within these asset libraries. And the UI system will be the first real use of that, make huge use of prefabs. We're going to create a library of components that can be used to create a UI. So that's going to be a set of different UI components there. We're allowing GUI layers to be shown within the room editor, and allowing multiple GUI layers at a time, rather than just the single one as it is just now. And you're going to be able to show those at runtime, or you can make them visible within the room editor. And all GUI layers will be available at any time to be visible, so you can see what it's going to look like within the room editor. Instances will be allowed to be placed within the GUI layer, and all the mouse events and the other events will actually happen inside GUI space. Containers for components can be placed within the new stack panel and grid panel components, so you can create responsive UIs. So that when the screen changes, those components can be auto-arranged. We'll be delivering these components for use in the UI in an expanding library, much like we've got for the filters and effects. Triggers. They are assets that can be placed within the room or sequence editor, or you can even just create them at runtime. They're going to make it easy to create doors, lifts, and various other kind of gameplay components. We're going to allow it to make connections between multiple assets within the room editor or the sequence editor, so that you can attach its asset that represents a switch. You can attach that to an actual door or doors that could all be opened at once. We're going to provide multiple shapes for triggers that can be used, not just lines, but line lists, not just rectangles and circles, but you'll be able to make polygons with shapes. And each trigger will have events where you can detect if an instance has entered or exited or is staying within the actual shape. And we're really looking forward to its kind of triggers as a way of making it much easier to create games. And we should see this in the second half of 2022.
So the roadmap does mention the marketplace, but it's been there for quite some time now.
Certainly has. We've been listening to our users, and we've got some things planned.
Yeah, lots of big changes coming.
So the marketplace has needed an update for a while, and what we're going to do is completely remake it. We're going to overhaul the whole UX of the site, providing a better front-end user experience for those who are looking for assets, and make it much easier to find the thing that you need. Also adding things like wish lists, ratings, and the ability to speak with publishers. Speaking of publishers, we're also upgrading that side of the service as well. There's a lot of things that we can improve on. We've taken down all your feedback on that, and we've got a plan for making this better than ever. Improved upload experience, improved analytics, version control, and featuring are just some of the things that we're looking to add in. We'll hopefully bring this to you as soon as possible, but these things take time, so look out later in the year for some more info.
Talking talking about what's been happening with GameMaker, what is currently happening. So right now, let's talk about what should be happening. And don't avoid the question.
Okay, well, Opera are really committed to GameMaker and the ecosystem going forward, and in 2023 and beyond, we've got a whole lot more coming. We've got the things that we're researching just now, we're investigating, features that we're planning going forward.
Yeah, now we can't say if or when these will be coming, but let's have a look at what we've been looking into.
We've given a tantalising glimpse of the new Runtime through answers last year to questions, and we're not quite ready to reveal everything. But what we can say is that we have a new tool chain, a new compiler for both code and assets that allows us to compile GML directly to native executables, with a linker that allows us to improve extension interface and improve and simplify language interoperability. We're moving from WebGL as a standard to cross-platform GPU interactions, and we're providing a web GPU interface. This is a new standard for browsers, and it gives us expanded GPU usage, allowing for both texture formats, surface, buffer formats, updates to language versions within shader languages, and allows us to even do compute shaders. And we're going to support this all cross-platform. We're investigating model loading and improving our 3D supports, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. The new runtime will also be completely object-oriented by default. We're going to provide a compatibility layer, it's a runtime that will allow simple migration from the current old runtime to the new one, and in much the same way as we did as we moved from GMS 1.x through to GMS 2. Through better interoperability, we're going to expand our support for other programming languages. We're going to support both shared and dynamic libraries. We're going to provide auto-generation of glue code so that you can easily connect GML code to language code. We're going to have a package manager, and this will also allow easy reuse and sharing. Project inheritance will also allow you to share code between projects, and complex assets will be easy to bring over. We're also looking to bring multiplayer support built in to GameMaker. We're going to make it as easy as it currently is to make games in GameMaker, single player games. We're looking to make that as easy on the multiplayer side of things. We're making it free for GXE users to accomplish this, and we're looking at having a paid option for other platforms. So we're just trying to make it as simple as possible for you to make your game multiplayer. We're bringing audio improvements to GameMaker. We're committed to having a free integrated audio solution. We're providing filters and effects for audio. We're going to do those at runtime and also be able to visualize and hear them within the IDE. We're going to have deeper audio integration with an audio editor that allows you to see visualized samples of waveform and allow you to modify things, add loop points and markers. We're going to improve the sequence support and have a better mixer. We're also going to provide Fmod support with a new runtime extension and library, and we're going to look at having Fmod Studio support so that we can be able to move between IDE and Fmod Studio. We're looking to give you tools to support international languages within your games, making it nice and easy, adding font support for complex glyphs, ligatures, right to left languages. We're also looking at advanced text layout for right to left to right, markdown support both in the IDE and the runtime, so that we can give a richer text experience with embedded links and embedded graphics.
Programmer art is never good, and programmer audio is even worse. That's why we are looking to add some easy art and audio generators for use in your games. That will generate characters, sound samples from selection of pre-generated assets that you can use quickly and easily within your game. We touched upon workflow improvements a little bit earlier, and as we stated there, we'd like to make workspaces a legacy workflow, focusing instead upon inspectors, improving the way we dot windows and the way we handle child windows. This, combined with the use of full screen editors, is going to make a much better workflow for making your games. Now, we touched upon templates and bundles a little bit earlier, but what we haven't talked about is tutorials. We've done a lot of work with tutorials over the past few years, and we intend to continue this going forward. One thing we really want to do is provide best practices on how to add features to your games. So we're going to be building off our templates and providing tutorials in how to add features to these. So you don't have to have an existing game in order to follow these tutorials. We hope that this is going to show you what is possible with GameMaker and inspire all the creators out there to further their knowledge in GameMaker. We would love for you to help us out with this, so if you are a content creator of tutorials and even templates or our assets, please get in touch and we can discuss things further with you.
So I have something here from David Strachan.
David's tech vlogs are fantastic. He's got a really good way of explaining difficult technical things.
And let's see what he has to say.
I'm David Strachan, and I've been using GameMaker for about 7 years now. I'm going to show you some of the projects I've been working on, and if you're interested in checking any of them out, you can find them at davetech.co.uk. So first off is Undercrewed. That's kind of like my solo personal project. It's a 1 to 4 player online cooperative game where you and your friends are controlling the same spaceship. You run around using the rooms to decide where the guns are going to face, where the shields are facing, and use this to drive your whole spaceship around. It's got some interesting technology in it. So first off, being an online game on Steam, it has the whole Steamworks integration. So as you'd expect, you can right click your friends to join them. It's got the lobbying system and all that nice stuff. It's also got some interesting shaders. So it's got a distortion shader that I use to warp and manipulate the screen. This can make the attacks look really impactful for the players. Also, the AI in Undercrewed is quite interesting. So, as you'd expect, writing AI is incredibly hard, and I didn't fancy having to program for every situation and scenario the AI found himself in. So, rather than doing that, I made it so the AI could play the game themselves, and I made them play it thousands and thousands of times. And I recorded what they did and the scenarios they got in and what they tried. So now, if they get into a similar situation, they can look at what they've tried in the past, if it worked for them or didn't work for them, and they can use this information to decide what they're going to do next. I'm also currently working on Honey, I Joined a Cult with the guys from Soul Survivor Games. Honey, I Joined a Cult is a cult management game. It's being published by Team 17. It's currently in early access, but will be launched later on in the year. In Honey, I Joined a Cult, you'll be building up your cults and your followers, trying to become a really big cult, maybe try and take over the world, but still trying to stay below the heat of the authorities. It's quite a humorous game, and I've mostly been involved in doing the GUI and the menuing and the interface and that kind of stuff. I also use GameMaker to do quite a lot of maths visualization. So here you can see a rather cool Lorentz attractor. Lorentz attractors have this fascinating property where if you change any of the starting values just by a tiny amount, you get these vastly different spirals drawn. It can be used to make very interesting randomization functions, and it can create rather cool spells and organic looking things. Here's some of the distortion shader I used earlier. It's creating an almost normal map style image, and it's using that to decide how it's going to bend the screen. I've got some fluid dynamics, and I've used this to do some interesting things like pathfinding enemy movement. You can use it to move particles around in a very natural way. Here, as you can see, or maybe the image is too small, I'm using the distortion shader to warp the screen, make those attacks look really powerful. I also use GameMaker to do quite a lot of maths art. So here you can see this, rather interesting, just manipulation of shapes to do some interesting patterns on the screen. Here's the flow field stuff, actually moving some particles around and showing how internally it's all working and with some of the shapes. I've got a particular interest in Voronoi. So this is a way of breaking up an area into smaller shapes, and one day I'm sure I'll make a game based on a Voronoi grid, because I think it's quite interesting where some cells connect to a different number, some will have more connections, some will have less. I think that makes the player make some interesting decisions about where they want to move things around. I've got some flocking simulations in GameMaker. It's a really good way to get enemies to move. You can use it for movement of attacks. It's quite a nice natural pattern, but still it's hard to guess, and it's still quite chaotic the way they move around. I've got quite a lot of tips and tricks for platformer games. So all these little things that you can do to make the player on the screen move, not how the person has pressed the buttons or entered keys on the keyboard, but what they intended to do. And sometimes they can be subtly different, and there's some things that we can do to like avoid frustration. I've got a reaction diffusion system, so I think it will make quite a nice like dungeon, like map generation system. It's kind of using some of the maths that you see in like biology and chemistry and like how cells work and stuff, and I quite like the way it looks. Here we've got some like 3D visual, it's just visualizing data in like a 3D space. Here we've got the flow field system again, and I'm using it for an attack, and you can see that the particles move out of the way for this body moving through the space. Then as it explodes, things move out of the way in a very natural way, how the player would expect them to move. I've got some screen distortions here, so you can see them kind of like flexing the screen, and we can also use it to, if the player gets damaged, to kind of like crunch up the screen. Have some cool looking effects there. Other like on-screen effects, got some rain effects, so I've got some systems and technology to show like how the rain droplet should be distorted in a shader, and how we can like mist out some parts of the screen to make it look quite cool. This is for the platforming stuff, so you've got things like the coyote jump, where if the player runs off a cliff and they've got nothing below them, we should still give them a few frames where they can still jump, even though they shouldn't really be able to, because that's what lots of people do when they're playing. And in this one, we're kind of catching the missed jump, so that they've missed this jump by only a few pixels, but we can just raise it up just a little bit. It's less infuriating for the player. Here we've got some AI playing volleyball. Now, they learned how to play volleyball just by being given like some inputs that they could make and kind of seeing the score. They're not really doing very well, but considering it's such like a complex environment, I think they're doing kind of well for themselves. This using the flow field system just to manipulate the smoke and the fire in a way that's like pleasing for the character. It's things like move past, or if you've got explosions, blasting the fire out the way. Again, some more like maths visualization stuff. It's just some like cool relaxing hex things, and some other like movement, walking and stuff, which is quite easy to do in GameMaker. On my website, davetech.co.uk, that's where you'll find the games that I've made at game jams. You'll find the GameMaker guides I've been making, and also just the general game development guides that I've done. An example of that is the platforming one that I mentioned earlier. So here I've broken down lots of existing games and how they do their platforming, like the amount of airtime they get, how high they jump, the full speeds, and if you're making a platformer game, there's an awful lot of data that you can kind of use here. Thank you very much for watching this. I've been David Strachan. You can find my stuff at davetech.co.uk, or you can follow me on Twitter at Dave's in his pants.
That was a lot of information, guys. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and we're going to make this presentation available to download as well.
Yeah, and kind of GameMaker is all about the community. We look forward to hearing back from you.
Thank you very much for watching, and be sure to look out for the future updates.
We're also running a Q&A on our forums, so if you've got any questions, head over there and let us know.